Hey guys, Matt Allen, Tim Little, welcome back to Tactical Bassin. What we're going to do today is jump a little bit ahead in the calendar. We want to talk to you guys about that early fall transition and throw in a crankbait. The reason why is some of you guys start a lot sooner than other guys. It's August, some guys are full-blown summer, but some guys are already making that transition. You're thinking about winterizing your boat already, you only got a month or so to go. So we want to jump ahead, start talking about that crankbait fishing so you can get your mind wrapped around it and understand what's coming. So basically right now, for most of us, the fish are broken up. You've got that fish, the fish that have gone to the outside structure. They're on that hard stuff. And then you've got those fish that have gone shallow. They've got up in the grass, but they're pretty scattered. Very, very soon those fish are going to bunch up, and they're going to bunch up into hard schools. I mean, really tight schools of fish. The reason they do that is going into the fall, the bait fish do the same thing. The bait is scattered right now. You've got bait up in the grass and it's everywhere and it's out here dimpling behind us. Then you've also got that bait that's down deep in big schools, and that's why you've got those offshore hard cover fish. But soon that bait gets tighter and tighter and tighter. The bass know it and they come from everywhere to show up on that bait. And the crankbait is probably the easiest way to catch them. Usually it's the best way, not always, but it's definitely the easiest. So once they all get bunched up, a very fast transition happens. Some of those fish go really shallow with the bait, some go really deep. Tim's gonna start us off. He's gonna talk about those fish when they go really shallow, how they make their moves, why they make their moves, and then what he does to target them.
Yeah, absolutely. This transition every year kind of throws people off, you know, and it, you know, yes, a couple days ago it was 105 degrees, now it's 80 something degrees. So it happens very quickly. The grass starts dying, the fish start traveling. Most of us are on that top water pattern. We're up shallow, and a great transition into those fish is going to be the squarebill. You can still fish it in and around that grass. You can pop it, rip it through, so you can kind of fish that leftover grass where those fish are still congregated in. But like Matt said, those fish are going to spread out, and the squarebill, you can cover a lot of water. You want to keep your head up and looking for blowups and signs of bait. But once you find the bait with the squarebill, we've shot tons of videos in the past with squarebills.
Oh yeah.
You can really put it to them, and it's a lot of fun. A couple of the squarebills, do we want to go into baits right now or just?
Yeah, start us off.
A couple of the squarebills I like, the River to Sea Biggie. It's a decent size squarebill. It's not too big, not too small, so it matches the hatch for a lot of your bait fish. Out here we have the shad. This is actually a craw pattern, so if you're on a craw pattern, you can go with that. But this is a great bait. It's got a real nice knocker in it. Again, those fish can come from a long ways away and get that bait. A couple other ones, the speed trap. You know, how do you talk about a squarebill video without talking about the speed trap? This has been a tournament winner for years. Lots of money been won on this bait. But again, comes through the grass fairly well. It's kind of got that coffin style lip on it. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into the baits themselves, but another favorite of mine is going to be the 1.5 by Lucky Craft. The 1.5, the 2.5, this is a special bait. You know, Lucky Craft has great colors, but you're up shallow, you're covering a lot of water, and this bait puts fish in the boat. I know this is a favorite of yours too.
Yeah.
And the other one, just like every video, we'll put some different baits down below in the video description. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but there's different depth ranges that you want to really target. You know, there's some squarebills that'll go that 0 to 1 foot range, which is awesome if you're fishing real shallow and you want to come over the tops of the grass. You know, that grass is dying down, so now you have a 6-8 inch gap between the surface, and you can bring this right over the top and pop it through and really get those fish to commit on that reaction bite as you're popping it through the grass. But yeah, so pay attention to the different depth ranges on squarebills. I think a lot of people just grab a squarebill and go fish them. So down below in the video description, we'll link to some of our favorites for different depth ranges and some of the colors we like. Another really good one is going to be the Megabass S Crank. Got a real wide wobble. It's got a little different profile on it. Real wide coffin bill on it that helps deflect off of that structure. You know, you might even be fishing dock piles or shallow rock piles. Dock pilings. So that wider bill helps deflect and get a lot of that erratic motion that triggers those fish. So again, you're covering a lot of water. You're fishing primarily shallow, 1 to 4 or 5 feet, and you're just covering a lot of water. You're looking for your bait fish, and once you find the school, really pick them apart with the different types, the different profiles, and the different sounds of baits.
Perfect. Yeah, Tim hit the nail on the head with understanding depth ranges. Don't just throw a square bill. Understand that one of those square bills is going to be perfect in that 3 to 5 foot range, but it's garbage in that 0 to 1 foot range. So down in the video description, we really will break down which baits are for what in our arsenal. And then as far as the actual bait fish movement themselves, when these fish part ways, some of that bait's going to go really shallow. Some of it's going to go really deep. Some lakes, they do both. Some lakes, they do one more than the other. It has a lot to do with what kind of bait fish, whether you've got like little pin minnows or shad, or, I mean, there's a zillion different kinds of bait fish that these fish could be chasing. So they're going to tend to go one way or the other. Shad is the one that seems to do a perfect split. Some of them go dirt shallow, some of them go super deep. But that's how you're going to adapt your colors, know your bait fish, and then adapt appropriately. But we're going to give you our confidence colors. And then as far as when they start making the movement, and I think you'd agree shallow and deep are the exact same, these bass, when they get on those bait balls and they start to drive them as a school, whether they're going shallow or deep, they're going to push them and push them and push them and push them until the bait fish make a mistake. They're going to turn into a cove. They're going to turn into the back of a bay. If it's down deep, they're going to get up against a rock wall. They're going to get somewhere where they're corralled. That's what you're looking for. Whether you go deep or shallow, you're looking for the place where the bait fish made that mistake and they just found their new home until they get eaten.
And it doesn't even have to be bass push them. It could be wind. There's a lot of elements that can alter that and stuff. But yeah, go ahead. Didn't want to interrupt you.
No, that's exactly right. It's not just the bass driving them. Wind is a huge factor. Pay attention to predominant wind on your lake. If you haven't found the bait yet, as the fall transition starts, as you're getting these cooler nights, if you can't find the bait and the wind has been blowing out of the west every day, head down to the east end and start your search there. That was major. So now let's talk about deep. When the fish go deep, it's the exact same concept. They're going to corral them against cover. They're going to corral them up against walls and the backs of pockets. And deep is relative. Deep could be 5 feet in some lakes. It could be 10 feet. It could be 70 feet. There are lakes where they corral them deep. But when you're talking about cranking, you need to find those fish that are corralled in about 30 foot or less, I'd say, to be effective. Any deeper than that, there's very few baits that you can effectively touch those fish with. The baits that I have the most confidence in, that we have the most confidence in, striking, the 10XD was a game changer a few years ago. I mean, everybody throws that word around. It's a true game changer. When the 10XD happened, bass started seeing an entire genre of baits at a depth they had never seen them before. And we all brutalized fish
and actions they hadn't seen before.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And the 10XD is still a factor because you can get so much deeper and do it with a bait that has proper action. It's got good sound, it's got good action, and they just respond to it so well. And then in that XD line, the 6XD is probably the other killer in the fall. Those two. The next one is the DD22. Growing up, that was the bait we did all our damage on. And the Norman comes in and out of vogue. Sometimes people love it, then there's the years where you forget about it. But after all this time, I've still probably caught more fall fish on a DD22 than any other deep crank because it's done so much damage over such a long period of time. It's a great bait that gets down super deep, especially if you combine it with really light line. But it's not a giant profile, so it's a great balance to that 6XD, 8XD, 10XD approach. And 6 Cents, they've got a whole lineup, but the 300 is a unique sound. It's higher pitched, it's more of a tinny sound than the others, and there are days when that's key. Sound is a big factor, so is silent. You have some silent options. And then the last one, the River to Sea Goon. The reason why I throw the goon in, I want to throw it in as kind of a wild card bait. The goon is a bait that you have to understand how to fish. It dives so severely, so deep, so fast that it can blow out and do all sorts of weird things. So the people that fish it, they either love it or hate it. It's one or the other. Nobody's in the middle. But it's a deadly, deadly bait because you're getting depth, but you're getting it in a small profile. And the fish just wolf it. I mean, they choke it. But you have to understand how to fish it. So when you throw that bait, you want to burn it down there hard. When it bounces off of cover, it'll deflect just like any other bait. But sometimes it's digging so hard that when it hits cover and turns, it just continues to dig. And that bait will just take off running sideways on you. So a guy that's not ready for it will throw it out there and that bait will start going sideways. He'll think it's not tuned. He tries to tune it, try again, it starts taking off the other way. And you're like, I can't throw this bait. But if you know that that's coming, there's no other bait that does it. Run it down there, it bangs that cover, let it start to run, and then just pause your cadence and then continue. What'll happen is that bait will be running sideways, and then it'll stall out, straighten up, and now you've moved sideways in the water column, and you continue your retrieve. And you can get that bait to hunt unlike anything else. So a unique bait that takes time to master, but catches big ones when you've got it, because you can use it as a tool to do some different things that other baits won't do. So that fall bite, it's coming. I mean, there's already a deep crankbait in the summertime, but every deep crank fisherman in the world knows that fall is prime time. It's going to get better and better and better. So you guys want to be ready for it. The only unique thing to the deep bite versus the shallow bite, I would say, is the bait fish. It's the same bait fish, but if those fish corral them onto rock, crawdads become a factor too. Right. And you need to keep that in mind. You need to be prepared to mix a red crankbait, an orange crankbait, a brown crankbait, something different into the mix, because the days that they're holding that bait in place but they're not actively eating it, that red crankbait can become a huge factor because the craws are on that same structure that they're holding the bait up against. Guys, you're going to get to play with this over the next 2-3+ months, most of you. Some of you guys only have a few weeks, but get your mind geared towards that fall bite. It happens fast. For us, about that second week of August, those first couple cool nights, you start seeing the changes in the grass bed, and it goes fast. This year, we want you to be prepared for it. So start gearing up, start thinking cranking. This is also the time of year you're going to start thinking about the finesse underspins, the swim bait head with a Kitech. We'll link you all that fall stuff down there just to make it really simple for you before it's prime time. Guys, we hope this helps you. If you have questions, let us know. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you soon.